Hey guys, Scott back again with a new beer dissection video. Had a buddy of mine come out over the weekend, picked up some beers from a local brewery about half a mile away, some crowlers I should say, and picked up some other beers from one of our local beer stores. He knows I do this channel. Plus he's a home brewer himself, so enjoys beer. So what he picked up for me on this particular beer that I'm doing today is it's called Devil's Path IPA from Catskill Brewing Company. Okay, which I'm presuming it's from the Catskills of New York. I live in New York. They don't give me the specific location. Livingston Manor, New York. So Catskill Brewing Company, I'm sure in the Catskills of New York, kind of the southern, I don't want to say the southern tier, but when you come across, they're sitting there, Hunter Mountain, Wyndham Mountain, everything like that, where I skied as a kid. So this is Devil's Path IPA. I'm sure I'll have the pictures popping over my shoulder. 7.5% alcohol. So we're sitting right there on the cusp at the beginning of double IPA. So they call it a regular IPA, double IPA. We're in that range. Nothing else identifying on the can worth mentioning. Honest, hardworking beer. Don't know the brewery very well. This is the first time I've had a beer from them. So we'll check this bad boy out, all right? So I got nothing special glass-wise today. I usually like my tulip glasses. Had a couple break on me recently sitting in the drying rack. Too much stuff got piled on it. So I'm just going with my typical shaker pint glass, even though they're not ideal for IPAs. All right, so let's crack this open here and see what we're looking at. They don't really, IPA is just I really call it a general term now because, we got New England IPA. Some breweries will not signify, like, is it West Coast IPA? Is it just strictly American IPA? They have liberties. There's no laws or rules written for them. So we'll see what this one kind of aligns with a little bit in the world of IPAs. All right, as I'm pouring it out, we're definitely either New England IPA or just strict American IPA. But I'll explain why in a second. So let's take a look at the head on this. Again, I do pour aggressively. This is pretty highly carbonated. Got several inches of pretty white dense foam. Looks pretty well sustaining. Not quite getting the frothing on top, but it looks pretty nice as far as the head is concerned. Let's take a look at the color. We kind of got a medium gold, kind of opaque, hazy, cloudy, again, maybe even slightly, to me it looks kind of like a light gold, maybe a dark straw. On the camera that I'm watching with you guys, it kind of looks a more gold, medium gold color, but can't see through it. Definitely hazy, definitely cloudy. Remember, with a lot of IPAs, especially New England IPAs, they will use a degree of oats and unmalted wheat or wheat in general. I've said this on many of my videos, depending on how long you've watched my videos. It has a lot of protein content. It adds a lot of the haziness to it, besides the hops, the copious amounts of hops, the polyphenols and things from the hops and hop matter that give some of the haziness also. Okay? Not like Hefeweizen, German beer, which like the yeast and the wheat that's used that also creates, again, haziness, which I just said sometimes they use here too. So again, pretty looking beer. I mean, it looks a little bit more like, right now, my initial impression from just the sheer look of it, that this is going to bias either New England IPA, hazy, maybe a little bit broaching into the American IPA. But let's take a look at this and take a sniff of the aroma. Okay, so yeah, there's definitely a fruit component here. Late, like tangerine, white grape, citrus, in that realm. I even get a little stone fruit, like a little peach, apricot. Very nice though. I mean, the aroma is, if you like fruit beers, whether you're biased towards apricot, like I said with this one, peach, tangerine, or other fruits, this one you'd probably like the smell of this. Malt, I'm thinking like just a very light toast. white bread type of. So again, right now my impression is again a little bit more biased towards a hazy New England IPA. It's not a, like I said, I get that peach, especially when I do short sniffs on it. Longer sniffs, I get a little bit more of the tangerine orange there. Okay. Anyway, guys, so definitely, I think the West Coast IPAs, when they're a little more clarity, because I'm a little older, I find a little more attractive looking. But these beers that are crossed between a hazy American IPA, we're kind of gotten used to this kind of a look to it. There's a little dankness looking to it, murky. Okay, but that doesn't mean the beer is not going to taste good. So, cheers, guys. I'm getting still that citrus. Why I'm about to reach for the can is citrus, peach, tangerine, apricot, kind of orange, kind of a cross between a overripe peach and orange. Pretty highly carbonated, more than I thought it was going to be. No alcoholic warmth. The bitterness is, believe it or not, only kind of moderate, maybe on the verge of pronounced, but I don't know the IBU units on this, but it actually is quite refreshing. It's not, the body is kind of, medium high. There is some residual sweetness I'm getting on this beer. So it's probably not as attenuated as I particularly would like. What I was reaching for the can was I wanted to see if there was, okay, there's the jig. Okay. It was canned on, I'm assuming this is canning date, not best drink date. They don't really tell you. February 22nd of 23. I'm filming this in mid-July of 23. So where I was going with that and why I was reaching for it earlier from just tasting it is when hops start, and it is in the literature, but like I also perceive this a lot. When hops start aging out a little bit, you do lose some bitterness, you lose some of the hop flavor, aroma, and things like that. I always get a little bit of a vegetative quality, not DMS, dimethyl sulfide, which kind of gives you that cabbage, cooked vegetable. Some people will get like, cooked tomato type of, aroma and taste. But you do get degradation of the hops. And it gives you this vegetative, grassy, you open up your drawer with the vegetables that are rotten in your thing. You kind of get that. So it's not as bad as what I'm saying, but I can tell there's a little bit of a shift there. Malt, I don't quite get that malt shift there. I mean, maybe there's a little bit of a slight honey taste or whatever. But when you're drinking IPAs, you really would like these IPAs to be, 3, domestically, maybe 3. I mean, as fresh as possible. You can get away with a few months. But again, you don't know how they're being stored. So even more than when the brewery canned it, you don't know what your local beer store is doing. You don't know if they're, keeping it warm, storing it. Either the room they have in is hot and they stick in the refrigerator at the last minute. So it oxidizes the hops. Even the color may be attributing a little bit to that. I mean, sometimes you'll get a little bit of a murky brown color. This is not murky brown. Okay. It's actually not. The color, is really not that bad. I wasn't thinking that when I saw the color. When I took the first swig of it, I was getting that vegetable component. That's why I was like looking off to my right here to see if I can have the can available to take a look at the date. So you do have a little bit of that vegetative quality from it. And there's some dampness. Neutral malt again, white bread, maybe a light toast. But surprisingly, it's still pretty good. But I could tell this is kind of, like if I didn't get this now in the beer store, like listen, I'm not that tool that goes to a beer store and says, oh, you got your beers all warm or whatever. They're not being stored properly. But if I saw this on the shelf, okay, again, I probably wouldn't buy it because, listen, I don't expect everyone to look at the bottoms of your cans all the time. I did do a video specifically about that, but this is the importance. This is this beer is kind of aging out right now. I'm probably catching on the tail end that it's still very drinkable, but in probably another couple more weeks to a month or two, I wouldn't want to touch it. Okay. Some people may not even like it. The guys, I did the Cicerone written test. I got to take the tasting test. Those that are even extreme beer geeks more than myself would be like probably rating this beer very low, extremely low. Yeah, kind of the aftertaste. You kind of get that vegetative quality. So look, guys, Devil's Path IPA from Catskill Brewing Company. I'm going to grade it. I can't really go any higher than like a C+, because of it's just aged out the way I'm drinking it today. It has some, there's still some fruit, good, moderate bitterness, maybe on the verge of pronounced bitterness. That's good. The tangerine, the stone fruit, the peach, that's good. The problem with it though is I think we're getting some hop degradation, and you're getting that vegetative quality to it. So that's why I can't go any higher than that. On a good day, if this beer was brand very fresh, I have a feeling I would probably rate it like a B+, A-. I think that's what's holding it back though. I think it's just aged out a little bit. So I don't want to slam this brewery. This is the first time I've had a beer from them. I think on a very good day when this was coming out and going into the cans, it probably was B+, maybe A-, maybe even higher. Who knows? But I think I'm getting on the tail end. And that's happened to me on my channel here. Sometimes I'm doing these, beers and they, I can't tell, I'm not buying, nowadays I'm not buying all the beers myself. So I'm not checking the can date. And I know sometimes friends, family, I'm not going to ask them to check canning date when they're getting beers for me. But this is on the tail end. But anyway, on a fresh, good day, if you wanted something with stone fruit, tangerine, maybe a little, there was probably like a little white grape, very standard IPA, leaning towards the American IPA in some respects, a little bit towards the New England IPA the other end, but even though there's no grapefruit here, you would probably enjoy this. So again, if you're up in the Catskills, get the beer fresh. I'm sure this is probably, I would elevate this more. Just today, I got to bring it down, C+ or so. But I'll enjoy the rest of this can. I'm not going to be dumping it down the drain or anything. It's not that close. But anyway, guys, today's beer dissection was Devil's Path IPA, 7.5% from Catskill Brewing Company. I won't repeat but there are some positives to this. Get it fresh. I'm sure I'd rate it a little bit higher. I just think the hops are starting to degrade because it was canned in February. All right, guys, and I'm in July. Till next beer dissection video, have a great day. Take care.